Zach from Gravel Bike California, back here along the California coast. It's one of our best rides to get into gravel here in Half Moon Bay. If you've been following our channel, these trails have made our best of list and also best places to begin gravel. Now, we won't be going up into the hills, but there's still so much to see along the beach, places to stop, and the riding itself is pretty easy too. So be like me, grab your family and let's roll. I love family rides for the freedom in the shared experience with everyone playing a part in exploration. But finding places to ride together can be tricky, which is why going off-road means staying away from drivers and enjoying the quiet of nature is what makes these rides more your own. So Half Moon Bay is a perfect place to make memories. After finishing up at Sea Otter, we relocated our vacation to the top of Monterey Bay, with Half Moon Bay about 50 miles from Santa Cruz. And I have experience coming from other angles, biking there from Palo Alto, riding down the well-known old La Honda Road. But for most, it's about a 45-minute drive from San Francisco without traffic, taking us about an hour to drive up the coast from Santa Cruz. You'll see the occasional group on the road, but most bike packers you'll find heading south, not wanting to battle these coastal winds. But we took a short detour inland before reaching Half Moon Bay, turning up Tenitas Creek Road, wanting my family to surprise a friend of theirs at work in the most unique bike and coffee shop you'll find. Hello!
Hi!
Welcome to my bike shop. The Bike Hut is a must-stop if you're in the area. A self-serve coffee shop with a number of fluid options and a wide array of bike repair supplies, all run on the Honor System, with their fundraiser DIY ride taking place in July, bringing a smile to your face thanks to the faith of humanity, where you'll see riders dribbling in here and there, even taking a seat with them too. Just a pastoral way to be around cycling. We actually drove past the center of Half Moon Bay, starting from the northern end, as the ride crescendos with views the further you go, as we decided turning around at 17 miles was enough for the day. We began out of Pillar Point on the north to take advantage of the parking and right up against the shopping mall for coffee and restrooms before we rolled. It happened to be a quiet rollout, not typical thanks to visiting on a spring weekday, with a number of folks normally walking over to the beach, not used to seeing this stretch of sand so vacant, but I am on the lookout for some of these unique colors showcasing their purples. Rolling past the breakwater is the closest you'll be to sea level, feeling a little mist next to the rocks, getting a little elevation before Surfers Beach, that normally you have to be aware of those walking with their boards, moving on to our first stretch of dirt, where there's something different riding on a natural surface, feeling closer to being part of the ocean without a threat of falling into it, with Vallejo Beach being a short pathway, but not too big of a wait for the next to come. For about the next half mile, it was as residential as today got, but quiet enough to keep the antics going, and even when there may be signs of conflict, these controls don't apply to cyclists, providing a stress-free pathway of our own that many were taking advantage of, as this sign used to be applicable. With this being the first time the bridge has been operational for my riding, that saved a half-mile detour previously, glad on what we were gaining with just a few feet of spanning. The pathway remains intuitive, finding accents with different colors that at times are invasively beautiful, with these non-native mustard plants staying in bloom for an extended time here, finding artwork from those who also appreciate the scenery, likely from the locals we were about to say goodbye to, as crossing into Dunes Beach, marking the transition, leaving us with an option to go off-road, providing a more straight-ahead path.
This is definitely a side option if you'd like it. Of course, you could be close to the ocean, but if you want to get a little dirt in early, this will get your fill.
While it looked bumpy, there was plenty of space to avoid, as these array of bridges will become common with the many veins coming off the Santa Cruz Mountains, helping what you can call flora by the coast.
They are flags.
They're flowers!
Even though we had some single track now paralleling, we stuck to the path here, as horses sometimes frequent the other, seeing more in t-shirts and shorts.
You notice you've already gone through a couple wardrobe changes. If you're riding here along the coast, it can get windy, cold really quickly, so bring a lot of layers.
Maybe we should have brought flip-flops right next to the beach, with my intuition of equines being in the area correct, putting us alongside Francis Beach Campground. That's always a popular spot year-round, and you'll find a number of families bringing their bikes, so expect the line at check-in, although I'm not sure it's also for cyclists. But maybe you need the right keys, where a few wandering pianos have found a home, including this one from the 19th century, that are all not coming back from the weathering, but music is still music.
It's definitely really cool to stop by these pianos. They might have been here for a while, so maybe don't use them for your audition to Juilliard.
Continuing through the end of Kelly Street that links with the downtown of Half Moon Bay brings us back to dirt, where the ride levels up, even pausing for a moment to take it in, riding in and out along the cliffs, where it feels like you've gained an added layer of freedom. Not that the landscape has changed dramatically, but weaving in and out brings back the fun of being a kid, and even more so if you happen to be one, because we've all had our fair share of straight lines, which you would have to owe to these crevices that there is plenty of space to avoid, taking your awareness off of time and space.
I'm surprised that basically, like when we started, we were like over there.
You've already gone this whole distance, huh?
Yeah, it's like crazy.
A little pavement here and there is a nice change of pace, and good to have a little speed when these short inclines to bridges appear, and make sure to follow the rules.
This time just walk your bike.
Okay, go ahead.
And no matter what the reason is, don't fret over walking your bike on rides, because sometimes you get to see a little more in the experience, but clearly we were all having fun being in the moment.
Hi!
Not needing to follow the shore to bring smiles, because one of the best memories comes going away from it, driving into this batch of line cypress, creating a channel for a tree tunnel that odds are you're gonna have to duck a little getting into the heart of it, and maybe wiser to dismount briefly. But once back on the bike, you know what to do. Just amazed how the wind has perfectly scaled this corridor. Okay, maybe you have to duck again, with no complaints taking this detour, maybe adding 5 minutes from following the shoreline, so definitely keep an eye out for the Wave Crest Tree Tunnel. As much as you hope this isn't a never-ending corridor, finding your way out feels like a maze, though it's easy to find an exit. That merging onto this pseudo path might scramble your bearings a little bit, but you're never in the middle of nowhere here. So you can embrace going off on the beaten path, which happened to be a little more beaten, but we handled this on cheap rental bikes before. So any added accoutrements were just a bonus, where no matter your path, you'll end up meeting with Redondo Beach Road, where you encircle some prime real estate. Just keep an eye out while making the turns, because the odds of sporting horses here are high. It's time to keep your eye out here as the path dips, signaling the most quote-unquote technical part of the ride, with a sharp U-turn and some bumpiness grouped as the vert flips. But you'll forget about the handful of seconds to walk it, leading you into a different kind of greenish environment, one that I wouldn't call as natural, rolling our way through the grounds of the Ritz-Carlton that you always do a double take walking through, wondering if you're interrupting anyone's back nine, with this hill perfectly placed next to the patio, presenting itself as a climbing alternative. But the family all made it up without putting a foot down, making it to the other side of the hotel, not revealing a surprise, just more golf course. Although we were more focused on the coastline and keeping our eyes out for others, with a number of locals walking, mainly from the homes behind the links, but things eased up after the bridge, with a little more on the cart path, almost missing the turnoff back onto the coastal trail.
This is kind of our grand finale. I hope it's worth it.
We spent about another half mile on the trail, although there are another 3 miles of dirt behind the fence, most of it along the coast, and not as much traffic here. And though there's a little technical dip in the middle, it's worth it, even if you just walk it. Instead, this was going to be our turnaround, which you're pretty committed to, being a dead end, stopping at the painted wall overlook, that the naming should be apparent in front of you, and that you should take a few moments here, as the joy of being in a setting like this just takes over. Maybe you'd think a ride would feel repetitious, since we were mostly backtracking, but since we were biking into the sun earlier, riding north gives a different perspective while taking advantage of knowing the surface conditions ahead, as approaching the Ritz-Carlton has a St. Andrews feel from this direction, although I'm pretty sure carts aren't allowed on the old course. And because the view here is more than something you just acknowledge, we decided to hang with a drink and some chips, glad that the locals would keep watch over our bikes, leaving us not to feel pressured on time, and thankfully clean handlebars when we were ready to go. Feeling refreshed for the final 7 miles back, and despite coming across that speed bump again, not remaining a memory other than on video, but we re-entered the dirt closer to the beach off of Bay Hill Road, as it's hard to get lost here with the ocean on one side, and the terrain mainly flat through a little bumpy, though still in the range of family enjoyment, cruising up on the eastern border of the baseball fields, and finding the tree tunnel not hard here. And even though a second time through, good to have more eyes. No more proof needed that this is family friendly, even though there was some vehicular traffic we had to negotiate. Able to spot our endpoint from here, and a little quieter in the afternoon, with a different vibe on the return. Not having to look for details as much, focusing on the ride, no matter what's beneath us. You had to be on the lookout here and there, getting lulled into this calmness. And yes, if you'd lived here, you'd be home by now, as the landmarks helped keep track of placement, while we weren't on top of time with the sunset coming, just too busy having the fun that will factor into the memories we make. But be sure to have these adventures sooner than later, because we all age out, but the experiences never do.
Like I've always said, it doesn't matter what type of bike you're riding, how far you go, or what exactly you do. The most important thing is just being out there on a bike. Sure, this is a fantastic place to experience it and give people like a great first impression, but you know, the family never checked the mileage along the way. It was her longest ride. I think it just kind of breezed through. The beauty of this is it being an out and back. You can turn back anytime you want and still have a great time. Anyways, if you want to support us, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, definitely the like, go to our shop or support us on Patreon so we can bring you more from the state of dirt.